Bizzleberries, welcome to something slightly different. I am going to be going through some high ELO Omega Strikers footage. In this footage, I am playing Kai Goalie. I'm around about rank 30 on EUS right now, and I'm main Kai. If you do want to know my runes, they're like literally just right there. I use them for the majority of my games. If I'm up against like an X or something a bit more aggressive, then I go, instead of built differently, I take well fed, which basically means that you get tankier when you pick up those orbs and gives you basically more health to last more hits against the like X and even like Juliet and the stealth guy Drek, something I forget his name, the furry dude. But you know, hopefully with me giving some slight run by commentary, I'm going to be drawing some doodles on screen. Okay, that looked really bad, just me scribbling on the whatever. And hopefully I will learn a couple of things of some potential mistakes that both me and my enemy teams are making, and so hopefully maybe you can take something from your games as well. So in these games we are going to be playing left to right, and this is like the loading screen at the moment. Just turn up the audio. So yeah, Drekar is the stealth dude. We're up against Asher, Juliet, and Kai. Actually got 3 gameplay sessions here that I'm going to review, and actually all of them are Kai jungles. Kai jungle is pretty... Kai jungle? Why do I always call goalie jungle? Kai goalie. Kai Goalie is pretty in meta at the moment. So here, pretty similar start. At the start, you want to use your right click to hit the core of the puck as much as possible in order to get those stacks. So you can see like how there I kind of just did it. So I was hitting the core 4 times. So every time you use a light attack on the core, you get 2 stacks or stacks and stacks. So I managed to hit the core here 4 times. So when you're like starting at a game quite early on, you do generally want to use your right click as much as possible on either players or the core, usually the core, just so that it relieves pressure and gives you those stacks and stacks, which gives you more haste, which gives you more movement speed. So let's get rid of that and let's keep watching. So there's a lot of midfield fighting at the moment, and then in a situation like this, I should have probably cleared it. Ball's coming at me here, and I clear it up, but that was kind of wrong because as you can see, the enemy Juliet is waiting right there. If I had actually cleared it downwards, would have hit this wall and put it in a good position for Drek then. So just something to be a little bit careful about more in the future. Play, please. Thank you. So clearing it down the side. So what I try and do is when I'm playing Kai is as I am using my left click to push out, because I can't clear it up, because otherwise, there's 2 things here that would go really badly if I was to clear it up here. The enemy Kai could easily throw a long range projectile attack. Also, if I clear it up, then I'm gambling that my Juliet's gonna beat to the Asher here, which is not likely since Asher's in front. So there's a lot of bad things. So the only place I can place this puck is down at the bottom. And then as this puck's coming out, I'm using my right click just to fire out some more projectiles to enforce the fact like this puck is going to go like this way, just to make sure there's like nothing else going crazy here. I want to shove this I want to have the core on this part of the map as much as possible. So you kind of just see it there. Kai did a good like little double tap there. So just watch the enemy Kai. So he's going to hit it. and then he's going to use his heavy attack, his R ability, and he's going to shove it right back down with 2 taps. So it makes it so that my Juliet is trying to hit it back, but then the heavy attack comes back through from the Kai, and then it makes it go ignore the primary attack, that the left click attack that the R Juliet did. So if you watch that. So here it comes again. So Kai's gonna auto attack and then right click. So you see how it got shoved back onto my side with the double tap. And now in this situation, it's not looking good for my team. We've got 2 people here on quite low stagger. One of the Ashe is quite low, but we kind of need to. And also having these 2 people here clumped up is really, really, really bad. Like it means we've got no spread. It means I can't pass up here because there's no one to receive. So this whole situation here right now on this map is really, really bad for me. So that's me trying to like right click, heavy attack to try and make sure that the puck stays on that half of the map. Once again, my teammates are trying to like team up to KO, which is potentially fine, but it could lead to this Juliet doing a double attack on both of them since they're so clumped up. So that's something that they need to be a little bit aware of. Like here, for example, this is what I see a lot of midfielders players doing for like no reason whatsoever. So there's no pressure at all. Here, right? There's no enemies here. So there's no reason for this Drek to come in for this puck when he can see that I'm here and I can just reinforce the movement forward. Like at this point, my team should be heading out this way and getting ready to receive the pass. And they should be spreading out. So for example, Drek should go up, Juliet should go down, and then the enemy Juliet, since there's only one midfielder, she then has to choose which way to go, and then I'll pass in the opposite direction. But because this Drek comes back, it limits our offense when we should be on the mega offense since we have a KO. So he comes back and it's completely not helpful at all, but luckily our Juliet does a combo and we score a goal anyway, but that shouldn't be happening. Start of the game, I don't have max stacks on stacks. Like I know we've been going through, this is only 1 minute and 30 of gameplay footage, but my stacks on stacks still wasn't complete, so I'm still reinforcing by using the right click on the puck early on just to. I think I did a very quick glance there at my stacks and stacks. But we need to get those stacks up to 100 as quickly as possible. So as you can see here, we're on 60. Enemy Kai is on 50. So I'm slightly ahead on that. So here's a little strat that works quite well against those melee ones that are quite slow, like Ashe and Juliet. So what's happening here is that I don't want to be isolated in a 1v1 here against this Ashe. She's going to want to keep this puck towards the wall and then use her abilities to like shove the... Okay, this is getting into too much of the same color. But she's going to want to bring the puck over into this direction. And then if she gets into this position here, that gets really, really dangerous for me. Because it means that she can then just block and just spam attacks like this, and the only real way potentially for me to get out of this situation is by if I get caught into this tight position here, is to gamble on right click, which is the multiple projectile things, to try and like sneak it out from under her feet, or potentially go for a left click downwards, which does then expose enemy Kai range projectile from coming in, because he's not being pressured at all. So if he does a heavy attack here and I'm pushing the puck out, he can easily nudge the ball into the goal. But there's one thing that I like to do to get myself out of the situation is when I identify that this is about to happen, I use my alt attack to shove Asher out of the way. So I move her backwards out, and that leaves the puck vulnerable then for me to able to do stuff to it. Okay. So take Asher out of the equation. Now she's not here to do her stuff, and I could do a diagonal push over. I still have my spacebar movement ability ready. So if you can see already that this Kai on the enemy team is already pushing out of his goal, ready for this potential exposure that could happen here. So I think generally, I don't know what I do here actually, but I think generally here is still okay to push the core back down this narrow angle. Makes it difficult for Ash to get to. Plus my Drek can DPS Asher and potentially get a KO against the wall. Yeah, so I do knock it back in that kind of direction, and that is exactly what happens. I swear that's not scripted, but yeah, that's exactly what happens. So once again, like, you know, we did just get a KO, and we should be building more pressure than this. So I try and right click and get the puck back towards their side, because you always want to try and keep the pressure as much as possible on their side of the map. But unfortunately, I missed my right click here. I was trying to nudge it over towards, but that doesn't happen. But another problem that's happening is in this 3v2 situation is that these guys are still grouped up. They're like 5-year-olds running after a football together, and they're not spreading out. So if Drake actually went up here, and then Juliet stays around the bottom here, then it makes it difficult for this Juliet. She has no idea which way the ball's going to go. So, yeah, that would have been helpful. Yeah. But they're staying too clumped together. And we don't really get to use our pressure. So I try and pass it to Drek here. He doesn't actually connect to the ball at all. That was me trying to do a double tap there just to relieve some pressure. And that's like the right click I was trying to talk about earlier. So here we're in a very dangerous situation. So here straight away I can say, okay, crap, we were in a really bad position. Juliet is a Narnia. She's like, I don't know how she ended up over there, but I think she may have stolen an orb. Maybe, I'll have to check that back in a second. But this leaves me in a very precarious 2v2 situation where I'm not quite in position to answer this puck. So I need to get to like this location here. And then I think the next best thing is probably downwards. Just because this Asher has already got this area of the map secure. This is the middle section here is like contested. And the bottom space is like the most free space. But even if I get the puck down to this area here, Kai can retaliate with ranged projectiles. And this Juliet's still going to take forever to get here. So this is already like really, really bad situation. I actually don't know what happens here. Yeah, so I have, yeah, I guess here is my mistake. I push it up into that Asher kind of like corner that I spoke about earlier, and I should be hitting it downwards. So that's something I need to look at my own gameplay. Yeah, and then we end up in a very, very kind of clustered fight. Juliet is still not really doing anything on the other side. And then I let it in. So yeah, that's kind of on me for hitting it up and not downwards. But as also my Juliet was kind of in the wrong... I don't know, yeah, what's going on there. Two of us kind of blundering that up. Okay, so that was a good hit there from me. The heavy nudge into Asher against the wall. So when I try and identify particularly the slower melee units, if I see that they're trying to do something in these sections here, it's generally worth throwing a heavy attack onto the Asher. Sometimes you can actually push them out just with a heavy, even if they have full stagger, if they're standing close enough to the KO line. But also what can happen is if you've got an aggressive team like this, like with the Drag, with the Juliet, if you nudge them quite close to the wall, it only requires a slight push then from the heavy hitters to actually push them over the wall. So that was a pretty easy free KO. So nudge back, boom, onto the side. Then once again we're in a 2v3. So we'll just kind of evaluate how my team handles this. So I pass it to Drake, which is probably a slight mistake. Then I try and get it onto the other side because Julia is holding this and I see their bots exposed. And now Kai is trying to use ranged projectiles to keep it away from his quarter as much as possible, which is the right thing to do. She is able to basically buy enough time for their third to respawn. Once again, we're entering into like a really bad spot here. This is like against Asher. This is like super bad. This whole getting clustered in this area up here is generally pretty bad. I think we kind of get lucky, and I get a lucky KO there as well. So as I was speaking like earlier, like heavy attacks when the enemies are standing near the edge. I don't even think I was even kind of going for her there. But it's just, you know, it happens. Picking up the orbs as they spawn just to get the extra XP through. That's me doing the tap. So it wasn't a good position here to do a cross. So here, for example, if I push it down here, Asher moves forward and then it creates like delayed pressure. We've got 3v2 advantage, right? So the easiest way I saw it, I think, is if I shoot across here and then reinforce that with the extra projectiles, and it makes it difficult for Kai then to stop, because it's a better angle for me to right click. Because if he right clicks from his position, so if he right clicks from his position, because he's hitting it at a diagonal, I can definitely reinforce this puck with 4 of my right click abilities, right? Whereas if he's right clicking across, okay, he might get to slow it, but he's not reinforcing as much as I am, so it should actually get into that quadrant, that part of the map, like basically guaranteed, and then it should make my team encourage my teammates to get onto their half, because we've got 3 people on our half when it's 3v2. So we shove it back in, we get it nice and snug into their corner, and now we're 3v1. So in this position here, even if it's temporary, I kind of need to step forward a little bit to kind of like this position here, as long as I've got my W ready. Because if I haven't got my W ready and I get caught out here, I won't have enough movement speed, even with stacks on stacks, to get back into a goal position in case, you know, the puck bounces like this. I wouldn't have enough speed to get back in time. Luckily, it's like not level 10 yet. Once everyone hits level 10, the core moves really fast. But we're kind of like in the mid game right now, so the puck shouldn't move too fast for me to get completely owned by something like that. So I move up. I try and reinforce with a heavy, just to try and like get a potential double tap in. So I'm still moving up a little bit to try and give my team more pressure. Right click to help more pressure. It looks like we should have probably scored at some point there, but we blunder. And now it's back to a 3v3. Once again, we've kind of got a cluster issue with our teammates clustering up quite a lot. I like the enemy's midfield position more. How they've got one top and then Juliet is generally playing like this part of the map a little bit more, the southern part, whereas these two seem to just walk around quite a lot together. Once again, we're entering into this kind of position where one-on-one with the goalkeeper, no one's going to be able to help me here, and it's going to be in a good position here for Asher. So, and I don't have any abilities left, so yeah, it's looking pretty bad. in this angle. I don't know actually what happens, but we'll find out, I guess. Oh, okay. I used my right click. My right click was used literally at the second I paused it. Okay, so that's like the only thing you can do at that point, or do a heavy attack on Asher to get it away. So we get another KO. I use the heavy attack on the puck just to speed it into their half to see if we can try and get anything from that. Just using my ranged projectiles as much as possible to create any pressure in case they knock it back. Yeah. So much the enemy Kai Goalie can do when it's TV3 like that. With that amount of pressure, it's very difficult. Okay, so that was pretty bad. So from my perspective there, I'm just trying to create an offensive attack. A couple of things go wrong here. Drax coming back for the ball when he can see his goalie is coming out to be aggressive. He should actually be, as soon as he sees me out of goal, he needs to be moving out a little bit deeper, or maybe like going up potentially to cover. He doesn't need to be stacking on me at all. But then the rebound happens here. Honestly, that was kind of a bad shot. I think maybe I thought I was trying to pass it to Drek for some reason. But yeah, that was a pretty bad shot. I should have hit it against... should have hit it against the wall and then it bounce off. But I don't. That was a really bad pass. And that should have been a goal. That should... I don't think the Asher was probably expecting that. They probably caught her off guard. But that should have... that should have been an easy shot. The whole goal line is exposed and it's my fault. That should have been 2-2. But we get away. We get away. Okay, so now we're in a 2v3 situation. So the enemy actually managed to kill our Juliet this time. There's not really too many places for me to get the ball, so I'm just kind of having to do what I can here really to get out. There isn't really much going on. I regard these kind of situations more as a attacker blunder, because they should be scoring. Like the here right now is like Asher should be scoring. I just about get this puck, and then the only way I can get it out is by knocking it up. This Juliet should have probably been in a position more covering, because I guess Asher has generally been north of the map most of the game, so this is kind of rare that she's even like down here. But yeah, the Juliet then needs to identify that and kind of like get in closer, and maybe even higher up into like this area, ready to get the rebound and really kind of suffocate the options that I have here at this point. So it's a Juliet blunder on the enemy team. So it's me, I think that's me just panic clicking, just trying to get out as much as possible and get it out. Try and right click stuff, just use everything that I've got on my ability list just to get it out. I think we haven't really talked about enemy Kai Goalie. Just kind of keep an eye on him. I want to see what he actually does, because there's a lot going on in this little situation. Yeah, so the Kai, he's in a 2v3 situation, and the ball is literally in my quarter for a good amount of time there. The Kai should be moving forward and chucking out projectiles. They may not connect, but he needs to reinforce the chance of a rebound and just keep it into my quarter. So he really should have kept more pressure on me too. So a couple of mistakes coming from the enemy team. That's what I mean, like when it's a KO and you don't score, I always kind of regard that as like you should be scoring if it's you got a play advantage. So we get the respawn. Enemy, both of them here are actually stagger broken, so they're going to be playing a lot more defensively because they don't want to get KO'd. One of them gets KO'd. Once again, we've got the play advantage. You can see, like, occasionally I'm trying to move forward when I can, when I've got cooldowns off, to create pressure with projectiles. So just then, you could see, you know, as soon as we got that KO, I'm looking to be aggressive, walking out of my goal occasionally too, just to help reinforce that. And then this Drek keeps doing it though, right? So this Drek has been doing this a lot this game. Like, watch the Drek here. This guy, watch him. He's chasing after the ball instead of waiting for the return, because it's obviously going to come back to the goalie. He has no reason to chase after after this core. He should be waiting out in the midfield, getting into a space to do stuff. Meanwhile, we've got Juliet beating up the enemy goalie. Enemy goalie's dead. They have no goalie. And that's just a tap in. So Juliet did a good job killing. And that also meant that Kai has stacks on stacks. So when you die, you lose all your stacks. So he's actually going to be a little bit more vulnerable in goal now on the respawn. Kind of just want to keep being aggressive. That little point there is not great. Using, yeah, that was a whole. I think it was my fault. This whole situation, because this Asher did a good job. Some Ashers, the aggressive Ashers, have kind of realized that instead of using the barrier, this barrier here, as a way to push in the puck, you can actually use it to nudge out goalies, especially Kai, because he can't jump over it. So if you look here, it forces me to go onto part of the goal that I didn't want to be. And then I use my ranged projectiles to try and keep distance. And then for some reason I think Ash is going to hit me again, so like I kind of like back off away from her briefly. Unfortunately my right side isn't able to get to the puck. He went the wrong way as well. So yeah, I basically screwed up. I should have been there to defend it. I don't know if I would have been able to necessarily stop the Asher from getting it in after that, because she's right on top of my face, but still doesn't really excuse the positioning. Once again, 2v3. Need to be looking aggressive. I'm on the edge of my goal line, trying to help with projectiles. They get the respawn though. So I try to double tap here. Sometimes that kind of works in terms of sneaking it through if you're going to whack it down the middle like that. So if you just left click and then use your R straight away here, so you can see like the animation coming through. So I've done the auto, and then I'm sending the right click through here, and it nearly actually goes through. So if we actually kind of like slow this down bit by bit, you can see how the puck makes its way all about down there, but I think the Juliet reacts in time and shoves it out. Yeah. And I get a double nudge and tap. Rounds up to 3-3. There's not too much I can do in that situation like that when Ash is on my face. So I think Asher, as this game goes on, I think Asher kind of learns that she needs to get into my face a little bit more. That was a good little heavy attack just to keep it on their quadrant again. And once again, we're in a 2v3. And once again, we're in a situation where it's like claustrophobic around about here. So I do have one. I do have my right click used here just to try and create that distance to just keep this puck as like around here as much as possible, especially while it's a 2v3. Just slows it down a bit, but I can't even manage it. It's just rough. It's a dangerous situation with Asher, always is on those side bits. That was a nice double KO. But you can see here, even though when we got a double KO, right? Midfield should be spreading out. There's no reason that both of these guys need to be chasing off the ball. And if the puck's coming onto my side and they can see I'm not receiving it, they should be spreading out and then just going in for like an easy tap in. If they just get onto the wings properly here. But I think we nearly blunder this. Yeah, it could have been. I mean, at the end there, they separate quite nicely, one up, one down, but it should have been identified sooner. But it was a nice double KO. I think it was by... Might have been by both of them, actually. Once again, trying to keep the ball as much as you can out of your own half. Managed to sneak that puck through. Once again, super claustrophobic, but that's like the perfect thing for Juliet to do. That's what you need from your midfield when it's getting into these situations are happening quite often, especially with the melee and how clumped up they are. Having your midfield use their huge abilities here in a situation where you can hit both of them is massive. And there's no reason why I don't think the other Juliet should necessarily put herself in that position too. So really should just be kind of be Asher there, I think. So it's a double KO. And then once again, you know, I'm receiving the puck. So I've definitely got this puck. I need one of these players to go down, one of these players to go up, and then re-attack it like that. So yeah, I think my pass could have been better here. I think maybe what I should have done... Yeah, okay. I think there's a few things that we could have done positioning-wise here. So we've gone back a little bit too far. So we get the double KO. I mean, the puck's moving quite fast, so it's quite difficult for me to slow down, but what I could have opted into doing here is I could have actually, to try and slow down this puck, I could hit this puck here and then have it bounce up like this. Rather than, or I could have done it like a very sharp upwards, but my team's not really in position here, so I kind of needed to just try and slow down this puck a little bit. What I instead do is push it in here into this corner, and then it kind of gives Kai a chance to kind of slow it down a little bit with his own stuff, and it makes it an awkward pass later on. There is one thing that my Juliet could do in terms of positioning here. So she kind of like moves in a little bit. If you watch her movement here, she moves in. She makes the space, see here? You can see it there. She's already moving down when she really should just be looking to go into like this kind of area up here. And then we kind of got the puck stuck in this area. Drek, I think, tries to pass it to Juliet. But if Juliet was in... It kind of stems from me though, because I made that situation kind of awkward for my team. But if Juliet was positioned here, Drek could have passed it up, and then that would have been a very easy shot into the goal. But because she's already put herself inside the goal, Kai's kind of blocking this off already. So yeah, there's no one really to pass to properly. So that could have been an easy goal, but we kind of blundered it up on multiple fronts then. So I try and shut it back in with a double tap. I thought that double tap was pretty nice actually. So you can see like I've done the auto hit, and then you've got this projectile, the R button coming in, flying through. Hits the puck to nudge it in a bit quicker, but Kai manages to answer it. It was a good save by Kai. So I try and take it away from the respawns. So both of these guys respawn at the same time. And I'm trying to take the puck away from them just to give my team a chance to try and have one more shot on goal where it's clean over 1v3. Get another KO on Asher. I'm trying to move up. You see how deep I am right now? Trying to create that pressure, making the enemy panic as much as possible. I still have my spacebar movement ability to go back if I recognize that the next puck shot could be quite, you know, iffy. I think the positioning of my team here is really nice too. I mean, this Drek could probably move up slightly, but that's about it really. I think it's looking pretty good. Enemy goalie is also staggered. There's a lot of good things happening for us here in this moment. Now it's 2v3. That's just a nice shot. Unfortunately, all the pressure I think kind of got to Kai in the end. I don't know how he ended up here. So I think Kai's coming down for the puck to try and receive it here. But Drek managed to get to the point in time and then knock it up. It's also kind of a blunder on potentially Asher. Asher should have been moving into a downwards position here, just to spread out a bit. Actually, the Kai I read that wrong. The Kai did actually answer that, but he's kind of in no man's land there. So actually, the original shot from Drek wasn't what I thought it was. But you can see how like these players here in the midfield, they're a bit clumped, but they start heading out, which is the right thing to do because they're anticipating that the Kai is going to receive this ball and then kind of pass it upwards. There is that slight risk where, you know, if I had a projectile, which I have caught coming through here, if that projectile connects as he's passing on this blue line, there is a chance then that the core could rebound like this anyway. So it's a little bit risky, the whole play anyway. It would take some finesse from me to make that happen, which I don't have. My heavy attack doesn't come through. I think maybe the Kai sees that. I think maybe my heavy attack comes through. Kai notices that just in time, and he's like, oh crap, if I do a pass like that, then it's going to hit the heavy attack. So then he's like, oh no, I then have to like shove it down there, and then that obviously then exposes this part of the goal. Which kind of just shows like if you are playing Kai in goal, you do want to keep throwing out those projectiles just to cause extra pressure to try and keep that puck on that half, because maybe that was an element to that. Because that looked like quite a big blunder at first, but there was more to it that play actually than what I realised after looking it back a few times. Because it looked like the enemy Kai jungle messed up, enemy Kai goalie messed up, but it wasn't actually all on him. It was just a little bit of an outplay, I think. So yeah, my two players are ganging up on the Asher, which does leave us a vulnerability on the map, but luckily it kind of paid off, and it was kind of a easy end to the game. I think by that point everyone was exhausted by the game because it was quite an intense one in the end. But yeah, this went on for like 38 minutes of evaluating what was this? A 7-minute game. But hopefully that can kind of put you in like the mindset of what's going through my mind as I'm playing goal as Kai, and kind of where midfield and should be, and you know how you don't need to come back to the goal. You should be getting ready to receive it, especially when you're a player up and stuff like that. So hopefully me identifying some of my own mistakes, some of my own positives, and some of like the mistakes my own team made, even though we won the game, can kind of show like, you know, what you should be kind of be doing in a overall game of Omega Strikers. Once again, this gameplay was like I'm in like top 30-ish on EU at the moment, so that was kind of that kind of gameplay. That was mid diamond, I think, 83 LP. So that was that game, at least anyway. I've got some more gameplays banked up, so if you found this kind of interesting, let me know. Maybe I'll do another one against like X, kind of like pummeling me down a bit and seeing how like I handle that. Yeah, I don't know. Do you like it? Do you want me to do more? Let me know.